Alright, here we are with the next episode of Kyle is Famous, and the game has 117 endings, and so far, for some reason, only got 16. Okay. Whee! Alright. So, alright, now, here we go. My goal is to have Kyle
woke up. He is
actually
famous.
Work the hot dog stand.
Kyle is host of the most popular talk show in recent memory, Stay Up Late with Kyle. Stay Up Late with Kyle has grown in popularity quickly in the last year, and the public has noticed. Inside has called Kyle a most excellent dumpy white man. Top Tech noted that Kyle is inspiring youth to explore STEM fields. Most other talk shows are dedicated to discussing Kyle and his personal details.
And hopefully, Kyle will actually sell hot dogs.
Most online videos are best of clips taken from Kyle's latest broadcast. The eye of the world is upon Kyle. Tonight is Kyle's most important guest interview yet. Stay Up Late with Kyle will be featuring Rachel May. She is a kind and lovely philanthropist.
Woke up.
She is dear to the hearts of many. This interview requires preparation. Kyle cracked his eyes open, knowing today is his last chance to prepare for the interview. Kyle has 30 hours left. He must choose his actions wisely. Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of his day.
Kyle's a hot dog.
Kyle laid in bed for a moment, thinking about the day ahead.
Kyle hot dogs.
He would produce another episode of his long-running show. Yes. Kyle thought about making breakfast, the same breakfast he'd been making for the past 9 years.
So this talk show is only 9 years old? You've been having the same breakfast for 9 years? But you know, you can do all this other stuff. Okay.
Kyle thought about the clothes he would wear. They had not changed for a long time.
I guess the other clothes is what he wears on his day off. This looks what he wears actually for the talk show.
Kyle waited for something new and interesting
Give him that
to
one
enter his
idea.
head. Something fresh. Something exciting.
Something
Kyle
hot dog
continued
related.
to wait. Nothing came to mind. In a sudden moment of inspiration, Kyle threw his covers to the ground and stepped out of bed. Kyle had made a decision. Today would not be part of an old journey. Today would be the start of something new.
Something hot dog related.
Kyle walked over to his desk and opened the middle drawer. He slowly removed an ancient, withered stick of meat. Today, Kyle planned to make good on his childhood passion, the career he had abandoned to become a talk show host. Kyle looked caringly at the crusty hot dog in his hands. Then, he smiled.
So it's an ancient, crusty hot dog. So we gets out of the drawer. Okay.
Then he bent his lips downwards and slowly sucked the hot dog into his mouth and down into his stomach. Kyle had become a hot dog vendor. He must now prepare for his first day running a hot dog stand. Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is.
Well, if Kyle's going to sell hot dogs, Kyle must be the hot dog.
Kyle put on his hot dog suit, which he had made by stitching hot dogs together when he was a child.
Wait, So the hot dog suit is actually made of hot dogs. Okay.
Feeling fairly hungry, Kyle bent over and took a large bite out of his suit. He felt refreshed. It wasn't enough. Kyle continued to eat his clothing. Soon, Kyle had eaten most of the suit. The chunks that were left were enough to act as clothes, but barely. Kyle felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
Okay. Wait. That gives me an idea. Next time.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Use hot dog magic.
With a hum and a pop, Kyle used his massive knowledge of hot dog magic to change the door handle into a hot dog.
Wait, he's got knowledge of hot dog magic, and yet he's running a talk show. Okay.
Kyle sucked the hot dog into his mouth, opened the door, and walked through. Kyle started looking around for anything he could use to make a hot dog stand. Kyle rooted around the scattered boxes and loose items. He picked up buckets, pieces of wood, rusty nails, and bits of string. Soon, he had enough loose items to be reasonably sure of being able to craft a stand that wouldn't fall over.
So he decides to be a hot dog vendor, and he has to make the stand. Okay. I still have 21 hours. Yeah, marketing agency, I guess, is a smart thing to do next.
Kyle walked over to the attendant and gave her a big smile.
That's next time. Alright, that's about marketing.
Kyle took a big breath. So how does the whole marketing thing work? Well, said the attendant, we offer several packages for old and new media starting around $100 customized for your needs.
I could get anybody that's got any internet experience knows full well you can't get very effective marketing for, well, $100. Yeah, that's some good exposure, but yeah. Actually, that's okay, exposure for $100, but I'm sure if you're doing it yourself out of your own pocket and you can make all this yourself, you can actually get some adequate marketing for $100.
Kyle bit his lip. Right, so what can I get for free?
Kyle's got no money.
The attendant stared blankly. Not really anything. Kyle didn't answer and stood staring for a moment, then walked away. Kyle approached
We'll have
his
this
downstairs neighbor's door
stuff like
and
10
knocked.
hours.
A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
Wait, you can... Okay. Yeah, we're doing this one.
Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully. Gabby looked at Kyle expectantly.
You can ask for a pen? Well, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this one as a normal. Yeah, I just started the hot dog stand playthrough. Okay.
Gabby, Kyle said, I think I have had a big life change today. Gabby raised her eyebrows. I'm giving it all up, Gabby. It's time for me to follow my heart. I'm going to sell hot dogs now. Kyle looked into her eyes. Gabby looked over her shoulder, trying to find an escape. Good job, Kyle, she said. Sounds like you better get started on that right away. Kyle realized that Gabby was right and returned back to the street.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay.
Kyle made his way to the street corner.
All right.
After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. But as he unpacked, Kyle realized he had not taken the important step of actually acquiring any hot dogs.
Wait, so he doesn't have any...
Kyle knew that in order to continue, he was going to need to visit somewhere close by to try to acquire hot dogs.
Okay. All right. Abandoned warehouse.
Kyle jumped into action, knowing time was of the essence. He turned around, briefly surveyed his surroundings, and entered the first door that he saw. Kyle found himself in the middle of a dilapidated warehouse that had not seen any humans for many, many years. The warehouse walls were plastered with a thick layer of grime, sticky from the damp air. But Kyle never saw the grime. All Kyle could see were the rats.
Oh, no.
Like a bristling ocean, rats covered every surface of the warehouse. Floor, ceiling, walls, and everything in between.
Here
Kyle
comes.
started to grab rats with both hands and shove them into his supply pack. His pack filled quickly. Kyle continued stashing rats into every open crevice. Within minutes, his pack was jam-packed with rats. Satisfied, Kyle made his way back outside. Kyle returned to his spot on the street corner. It was around the time work let out for the evening. The street was packed with pedestrians. Kyle began to wordlessly shove rats toward the passers-by close to him. Most avoided eye contact and steered around him. A few looked at the rat in Kyle's hand and frowned. After a few minutes of trying, Kyle became very frustrated. Kyle grabbed a nearby passerby, wrenched open their mouth, and drew a rat close to shove it down their gullet.
Oh, man.
But suddenly, Kyle had a realization. It was not the rats that were unpleasant to his customers. No, Kyle had forgotten to create a mascot. "Hey, you," whispered Kyle to the man gripped in his arm. "You're gonna help me." Kyle took the bag of rats and dumped it over the man's head. The man was buried in the rats. They clung to his arms and legs, creating a makeshift rat suit that covered every inch of his skin. Immediately, the man began to ravenously shill Kyle's hot dog stand to the public. He waved his arms up and down, yelling for anyone and everyone to come buy a treat. But there was a problem. The rats Kyle had intended to sell as hot dogs had already been repurposed. The crowds that had been attracted by the mascot sadly stepped away, knowing they had lost a chance at something wonderful. Eventually, Kyle and the mascot gave up. They returned to Kyle's apartment, heads hung low. Kyle and the mascot tried several times over the next few months. Before they could get their feet underneath them, however, they were written up by the FDA for extremely, extremely unhygienic marketing. The mascot was sent to jail. Kyle, being without his partner, decided to give up for good.
Aw, poor Kyle.
Kyle nor the mascot sold any hot dogs.
Kyle created a mascot. Okay.
Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of his day. Kyle laid in bed for a moment.
I skip
Kyle
that.
had become...
Let's start the day, hot dog. Alright. Now. Okay. This time I'm not going to have him eat the hot dog soup.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit. Kyle put on his hot dog suit, which he had made by stitching hot dogs together when he was a child.
I'm going to restart this day. Alright. Change dogs.
Kyle thought very...
Hot dog.
Kyle laid...
Skip.
Kyle had become...
Start day. Alright, I'm going to do the suit later in the day so that way I can get more time. So I got a brilliant idea. Alright. Alright, Scav, can I get hot dogs?
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for...
Hot dogs.
Kyle started looking around for hot dogs. He crawled around, spreading layers of mold to the side with his hands and picking out interesting items. Kyle couldn't find any hot dogs, but instead he found a pile of love letters he had written in high school.
Love letters?
Kyle pocketed the envelopes and got back to his feet.
Alright. Hallway. Kitchen. I was going to think about hot
Being in
dogs.
the kitchen gave Kyle a massive amount of hot dog-related nostalgia. He stood still, pondering. Kyle continued to think about hot dogs. Kyle still continued to think about hot dogs.
Enough thinking about
Kyle
hot
stopped
dogs.
thinking about...
Open the fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending...
Search for hot dogs.
Kyle searched through the fridge, trying to find hot dogs. His search turned up nothing. Kyle opened the fridge, intending to...
Alright. Leave the apartment. Neighbor.
Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
Assume Gabby.
Kyle
I gotta do
unhinged
it.
his jaw and swallowed Gabby whole. Job done. Kyle returned to the middle of the street.
Alright, return to the apartment. Bedroom.
Kyle put on his hot dog suit, which he had made by stitching hot dogs together when he was a child.
Shoot the ah!
Kyle made his way to the street corner.
Okay, I can do this. I can do this.
After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. As Kyle was unpacking, his hand brushed the old love letters he had picked up earlier. He stopped. Something tugged at Kyle's heart. These letters were a piece of himself. These letters were a piece of history. Kyle realized it was time to give these letters to their original intended recipients. Kyle looked at the top letter of the stack. It was addressed to Abigail, a girl Kyle had liked during high school.
So he's gonna give away love letters and a hot dog suit.
Abigail had moved to the other side of the city with her husband a few years ago, but Kyle was willing to make the trip. Kyle skipped away to Abigail's house, letter in hand. It wasn't that Kyle liked Abigail anymore. It wasn't that he missed her. To Kyle, this was more important than that. After an hour of walking, Kyle finally reached Abigail's front door. With excitement in his heart, Kyle took a breath and knocked on the door. Abigail opened it.
Huh.
Kyle, she said, smiling. What are you doing here? It's been so long. Abby, said Kyle, I have something I want to read to you.
Oh, no.
Kyle took the letter to Abigail, clutched in his hands, and opened it for the first time in 14 years.
14-year-old love... Okay.
Dear Abby, he read, I feel funny when I look at you. Sometimes I think about you when I lie awake at night, but also sometimes not, but that's less often. I also talk about you constantly to everyone when you're not around, but it's not always good things. Sometimes I also steal your lunches when you're not looking and keep them in a drawer at my house to look at when I'm bored.
Huh.
I want you to promise me something. Kyle looked at Abby meaningfully. Promise you like me. And if you do like me, please show me by shoving live fish down your throat as a sign of dedication. Abigail shut the door.
Cows were even growing up, apparently.
Kyle looked up from the letter and stopped reading. He looked at the door in front of him. He realized that Abigail probably had something to do, so he decided to leave her the letters to read later. Kyle pressed the letters against the door and pushed firmly. He took a nearby rock and drove it through the papers into the door so Abigail could not miss them. With evening dawning, Kyle went home, satisfied that he had finished an old chapter of his life. When Kyle got home, he realized that he loved writing letters to Abigail. He decided that he would continue to do so every day and make her his pen pal. Kyle fell asleep with a smile. It had been a good day.
Kyle got a pen pal. Okay.
Kyle thought very carefully.
Alright. Hot dog salesman.
Kyle had become.
Alright. Sit at the desk. Search for hot dogs.
Kyle searched through his desk to find more hot dogs that he could sell. But Kyle had moved his hot dog stash somewhere else. He shut the desk drawers.
I've got this for change.
Kyle scooped up the change scattered around the desk drawer.
Small key.
Kyle grabbed the small key he kept in his desk.
Okay, nothing in there.
Oh, shit.
Open the closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some
Hot dog.
Kyle put on his hot dog suit, which he had made by stitching hot dogs together when he was a child.
So you can't double the
Feeling
time.
fairly hungry, Kyle
Okay.
bent over and took a large bite out of his suit. It wasn't enough. Kyle continued. Soon, Kyle felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
Alright. Hallway. Locked door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway.
Hot dog magic.
With a hum and a pop, Kyle
Hot
Kyle
dog.
started looking around for anything he could use to make a hot dog stand.
Alright.
Kyle rooted around the scattered boxes and loose items. He picked up buckets, pieces of wood, rusty nails, and bits of string.
Alright. Now. We gotta find some hot dogs.
Kyle walked over to the strain with a...
So when he shuts the door, it relocks it. Supernatural
This
artifact.
was one of the many mysterious artifacts.
Let's grab the
Kyle
artifact.
stashed the
Okay. Back to hallway. Leave apartment. Tech store. Talk about hot
Excited
dogs.
by his new job as a hot dog salesman, Kyle decided to share his happiness with the store clerk. As Kyle opened...
So,
The hot dog Kyle had eaten earlier had multiplied in his stomach, causing a massive amount of hot dog pieces to grow inside of him.
so,
After a couple minutes of spewing, Kyle stopped. He looked at the attendant. "Oh, you know," said Kyle.
alright.
The attendant did not seem to want to respond, so Kyle decided to leave the tech store.
Well, now I know how to get hot dogs. Let's see what
Kyle
happens.
made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things
All
onto
right.
the corner of the street.
He's got his cart. He's got an artifact. I wonder what the artifact's going to do. Wait, I don't see a hot dog up here.
But as he unpacked, Kyle realized he had not taken the important step of actually acquiring any hot dogs. Kyle knew that in order to continue, he was going to need to visit somewhere close by to try to acquire hot dogs.
Well, he spewed up a whole bunch of multiplied hot dogs at the tech store.
Kyle decided that the local tech store would probably have hot dogs. Kyle skipped inside, looking forward to the lovely interaction that was upon the attendant and him. The store walls were lined with electronic gadgets and apparel, important to each citizen's everyday life. Kyle was amused. He loved Techno Gym. He loved the friendly store clerks. This was a comforting place for him to be. Kyle walked straight into the employees' break room and began rummaging around for things to take with him. Within a couple minutes, Kyle had found a healthy stash of wallets and a phone, but no hot dogs. Kyle pushed past the circle of store clerks, shouting and pounding on his back to look inside the employee fridge. Inside, Kyle found several packed lunches, half-eaten subs, and a few bottled drinks, but no hot dogs. Kyle slid his way through the crowd of employees and law officials and walked outside. The sun was setting, creating a soft glow of orange in the sky. The birds twittered.
But the hot dog magic multiplied in him, so why didn't he have hot dogs?
Kyle lifted his head high and breathed in deeply. He smiled. Maybe selling hot dogs wasn't what was important. The world was lovely, shining. Kyle felt like he needed to appreciate nature. Kyle was flattened by the SWAT helicopter that had been called to stop his tech store rampage. Kyle had been properly stopped. Job well done. The SWAT helicopter flew away. Being now completely flat and also washable, Kyle became the first reusable source of printer paper.
Huh?
Companies rented Kyle for days and months at a time to help increase printer-related productivity and reduce waste.
Okay.
Single-handedly reduced greenhouse gas production by 56%.
Alright. That's weird.
Eventually, Kyle was replaced with also renewable laser-engraved mold lumps. Humanity flourished.
So, this week.
Alright. That was random. Kyle became printable.
Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of his day.
Monday. The service fee of
Alright, Kyle. Let's keep the
Kyle
hot dog
laid
train
back for a
rolling.
moment, thinking about the day ahead.
Skip that
Kyle
part.
had become-
Alright. I wonder if the drawer... Small key's got to be something hot dog related. Small key.
Kyle grabbed the small key.
Back to the desk. Check in drawer. Sorted
Kyle
change. Alright, back to the room. Open the closet. Wait, let's restart this. I got it. Okay. I think I know the order you're supposed to do this in now. Okay. Okay, I got that. I got it. I think I got the order.
Kyle thought.
Hot dog.
Kyle laid in bed.
Skip the intro
Kyle.
for the hot dog. Okay, we're going to sit at the desk. So I'm thinking when I check in the drawer, the key,
Kyle
the
grabbed
pantry
the
will
small
be
key.
replaced with hot dogs. Okay? Check in the drawer. The drawer
Kyle
the sort of
scooped
change is probably to pay for the marketing. Okay. Back to the room. Hallway. Kitchen. Check the pantry.
Kyle wanted to act.
Small
The pantry
key.
door lock.
Look in the pantry.
Instead of an assortment of canned goods and grains, Kyle's pantry stored his massive amount of bottled lard.
Okay. Grab hot
Kyle
dogs.
searched around the pantry for a selection of hot dogs. After a few minutes of searching, Kyle found several stashes of old hot dogs loose.
He's got
and
the
in
hot
paper
dogs.
bags. He
Why
gathered
they're in the
them
pantry?
together
I
and
don't
saw
know.
that he had a serviceable amount of hot dogs.
Alright, back to the kitchen. Return to the hallway. Now we're going to go back to the bedroom. Open the closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time.
Hot dog suit.
Kyle
We're
put
going to have
on
him
his
chew
hot
on the
dog
suit for more time.
Feeling fairly hungry, Kyle bent over and took a large bite out of his suit. It wasn't enough. Kyle continued to eat his clothing. Soon, Kyle had eaten most of the suit. The chunks that were left were enough to act as clothes, but barely. Kyle felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
All right, you see, they gave us more time. Now we can get the cart.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway.
This door here, for
Found
some
quickly
reason, you
that
have
the
to
door
unlock
was
it every
locked
time.
from the inside.
It's weird. Hot dog magic.
With a hum and a pop, Kyle used his massive knowledge of hot dog magic to Kyle sucked the hot dog into his mouth, opened the door, and walked through.
All right, hot dog stand.
Kyle started looking around for anything he could use to make a hot dog stand. Kyle rooted around the scattered boxes and loose items. He picked up buckets, pieces of wood, rusty nails, and bits of string. Soon, he had enough loose items to be reasonably sure of being able to craft a stand that wouldn't fall over.
All right, now we're going to leave the apartment. Now we'll try the marketing agency and see if the change is going to be for the marketing. Unless his downstairs neighbor becomes the mascot. We'll try the marketing agency.
Kyle walked over to the attendant and gave her a big
You see,
smile.
now we got purchase marketing in blue.
Kyle walked to the desk and placed his pocket change on the table. "How much marketing can I get for this?" asked Kyle. The attendant looked at his offerings. Maybe like a piece of paper on the message board outside," said the attendant. Kyle wordlessly purchased the flyer and walked out the door.
So we got marketing, we got the stand parts, we got the food, we got the hot dogs. So we got the hot dogs, we got the small queue which I used to get the hot dogs, and then we got the hot dog suit. Okay. I think we did. I think we got it, people. I think we got Kyle's going to sell hot dogs. I'll use this just to get that last click out of the way.
Kyle made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. Kyle took out his cart pieces and began to assemble them. With a little trouble, Kyle was able to finish constructing a serviceable hot dog stand.
I'm so tempted to click on eat. But I know if I have him eat the hot dogs, he won't have the hot dogs, so we're going to spin on over here and, just keep on going.
Kyle then started to place the hot dogs he had brought into the cart. They were cold, but Kyle had never cooked his hot dogs as a child and didn't want to start now.
So Kyle's going to sell cold hot dogs. Okay.
His prep finished, Kyle looked around and smiled, waiting for his first customer. After a few minutes of waiting, one customer came to Kyle's stand. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, the customer bought 2 hot dogs and left, pleased. About 30 minutes later, 2 girls came over to the stand and bought 1 hot dog each.
This is going to go crazy. This is going to go crazy.
Over the
Down
next
before
few
this
hours,
part.
Kyle received a healthy handful of customers, each left with a hot dog and a smile. As evening fell, Kyle found himself to be just about sold out of hot dogs. Tired but pleased, Kyle closed his stand for
get out
the
of
day
hand.
and wheeled it home. Kyle had made a modest but livable amount of money at his hot dog stand that day. It would be hard, but if he kept his focus, he could make it work. Millions of fans were confused as to why Kyle hadn't shown up for his show that evening. But the few that had bought a hot dog from him understood. They knew that Kyle made a decent hot dog salesman.
Huh. Okay. That did get out of hand. Alright. This time, instead of going for the marketing flyer, I know what I'm gonna do. So I think I know what the other option was for. All right, change jobs.
Kyle thought very carefully.
Kyle's a hot dog.
Kyle had become a hot dog vendor. He must now.
All right, let's do this thing. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab the small key. We're skipping this order of change, so I got a different idea for this one. All right. Back to the room. The hallway. We're going to the kitchen. Check the pantry. We're unlocking the pantry.
The pantry door locked.
Look at the
Instead of
pantry.
an assortment of canned goods and
We're grabbing them hot
Kyle
dogs.
searched around the pantry for a selection of hot dogs. After a few minutes of searching, Kyle found several stashes of old hot dogs loose and in paper bags. He gathered them together and saw that he had a serviceable amount of hot dogs.
All right. Now we're going. Return to the hallway. Going back to the bedroom. Alright, we're going into the closet.
Kyle decided
Getting
to
that
take
hot
some
dog suit.
Kyle put on his hot dog suit, which he had made by stitching hot dogs together when he was a child.
It's impossible to do this one without more time. I figured that one out.
Kyle bent over and took a large bite out of his suit. He felt refreshed. It wasn't enough. Kyle continued to eat his
I
clothing.
mean, look at this. Just to get the hot dogs. Just get the hot dogs. And to get the suit, you're already down to 9 hours.
Soon, Kyle had eaten most of the suit. The chunks that were left were enough to act as clothes, but barely. Kyle felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
Okay. Now we're going to the hallway. The locked door.
Kyle walked over to the
We're using hot dog magic. We're going to get the cart.
Kyle
Alright, we're getting the hot dog
Kyle
cart.
started looking.
Which is basically
Kyle
actually
rooted
stand.
around the scattered boxes and loose items. Soon,
Alright. I'm going to leave the apartment. Downstairs.
Kyle approached his A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
Consume Gabby.
Kyle unhinged his jaw and swallowed Gabby whole. Job
All right.
done. Kyle returned to the middle of the street.
Alright. It's up like 4 hours. We're still in Techno Gym.
Quickly, before the attendant could acknowledge,
Just in
finding
case.
that Techno Jim's cardboard feet were bolted to the ground, Kyle started to heave upwards. After several tugs, Techno Jim broke free, leaving one foot
Imagine
and
barely
one
enough
leg
time to
behind.
steal Techno Gym.
Kyle glanced at the attendant, who was staring,
Here, you got Gabby, got
bewildered,
Techno
and
Gym.
ran outside.
All right. Let's click on this one. All right, here we go. Okay, this time we got Techno Gym, we got Gabby, we got the stand, we got Kyle eating some hot dogs, and he's got the hot dog suit. He's got some hot dogs. He's got a smoky, and he's got the hot dog soup. All right, here we go.
Kyle made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street.
That's why he uses the same text for when he's still Techno Gym with Kyle's a hot dog as it is with the regular one.
Kyle took out his cart pieces and began to assemble them. With a little trouble, Kyle was able to finish constructing a serviceable hot dog stand. Kyle then started to place the hot dogs he had brought into the cart. They were cold, but Kyle had never cooked his hot dogs as a child and
So
didn't
Kyle's
want
selling
to
cold
start
hot
now.
dogs.
His prep finished, Kyle looked around and smiled, waiting for his first customer.
All right, what's Techno Gym going to do?
But after waiting a moment and getting bored, Kyle decided to use Techno Jim as his first customer.
What?
Kyle set Techno Jim in front of his cart. He stood and looked at him for a second, smiling. Then he spoke. Techno Jim, said Kyle, smirking slightly. Would you like to buy my first hot dog? Techno Jim refused. Kyle's smirk turned into a frown. Techno Jim, why don't you want to buy one of my hot dogs? Techno Jim was not able to eat hot dogs. Kyle was exasperated.
Well then, Techno Jimbo, what could I possibly offer you that you would be interested in?
Techno Jim would be happy to eat Kyle.
Wait, Techno Jim's going to eat Kyle?
Kyle stared blankly at Techno Jim, confused. Jimbo would be happy to eat Kyle.
I think Techno Jim's going to eat Kyle.
Techno Jim reached across the hot dog stand and hoisted Kyle towards his face.
Wait. The store standee is going to eat Kyle?
In one smooth motion, Techno Jim opened his mouth and ingested Kyle whole.
It's going there. Techno Jim's going to eat Kyle.
There was a quiet sound of something sliding down the inside of Techno Jim's stomach.
Techno Jim is eating Kyle. I don't know.
Then, there was silence.
Okay. That caught me off guard. Techno Jim ate Kyle. All right.
Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of his day.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's keep this hot dog train
Kyle lay in
rolling.
bed for a moment, thinking about the... Kyle had become a...
All right. This time I'm not going to have them eat part of the hot dog because I want to see what will happen if I have them just get the hot dog suit and the hot dogs.
Kyle put on his hot dog suit.
All right.
Kyle grabbed the... Kyle wanted to access the pantry door. Instead of an assault,
All
Kyle
right.
searched
Grab
around.
the hot
After
dogs. Okay.
he gathered them.
Kyle's able to grab the hot dogs. Okay. Return to the hallway. All right, 11 hours. All right, now I'm going to leave the apartment. Visit downstairs.
Kyle approached his... A middle-aged woman named...
Assume Gabby.
Kyle... Job done.
6 hours. 5 hours. Just got to do it if there's enough time. Approach attendant.
Kyle walked over to the attendant and
Now
gave...
pretend to die.
Kyle let out a blood-curdling scream and fell onto the attendant's desk, face first. The attendant did not buy Kyle's death. She continued working. Trying to sell the effect, Kyle lay on the attendant's desk for several hours, motionless.
Okay.
Eventually, Kyle sheepishly stood up and walked out of the agency.
Okay. That was worth it.
Kyle made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman.
Just minus the stand.
Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. As he unpacked, Kyle realized he had never gotten a food cart to make his hot dogs in. Kyle had no choice but to place his hot dogs on the ground. Looking at the hot dogs strewn across the sidewalk, Kyle realized he had found a golden opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Kyle began to roll his hot dogs around in the dirt, pressing firmly so it would be embedded into the food.
Wait, Kyle's rolling his cold hot dogs in the dirt. Okay.
After a while, his back became sore from bending over. Kyle continued with the bottom of his shoe.
Now he's using his shoe to roll hot dogs on the dirt.
Soon, all of the hot dogs had been sufficiently seasoned.
With dirt and rubber. Okay.
Kyle swept his hot dogs into a pile and sat on the concrete next to them.
Produce Gabby.
Then, Kyle spat Gabby out of his mouth. Gabby tumbled to the ground. She stared at Kyle. "Gabby," said Kyle, "I need you to be my hot dog cart because I forgot to bring one."
He's going to use Gabby as a hot dog cart?
"Kyle, I really don't want to do that." Gabby got to her feet to go back to her house. But then Kyle had an idea. "Gabby, no," said Kyle excitedly. "You will sell my hot dogs and I will be your table."
Wait, Gabby's going to sell the hot dogs and Kyle's going to be the table.
Kyle got down on his hands and knees and motioned with his head for Gabby to come over. Gabby pursed her lips, but having nothing better to do, decided to play along.
Gabby's going to do it. Gabby's going to sell hot dogs with Kyle as the table. Using hot dogs that was pressed and rolled in dirt. Okay, this is good. This is
Gabby
crazy.
piled the hot dogs on top of Kyle, sat on the ground behind him, and stared forward with a bored look. Within a few minutes, a curious crowd of observers had gathered. Gabby looked at them, but did not speak. Kyle began to grow worried. "Gabby," he whispered, prodding her knee, "you need to tell them to buy my hot dogs." Gabby smoothly put her hand on Kyle's mouth and then addressed the crowd. "Hello, everyone," said Gabby. "It is time." Gabby immediately started ballooning in size, sprouting new arms and mouths from every part of her body.
Wait, so Gabby's getting bigger and more arms.
The mouths on her body opened and started to spit out camera bots. They crawled away to scour the city.
So now our body's producing camera bots to go through this. Okay.
Gabby had turned into her ultimate form of the Mega Bug Vigilante. Under Gabby's watch, crime was completely eliminated in the city. Peace was everywhere. But over the coming months, Gabby continued to grow and produce camera bots. Eventually, the city was completely covered by Gabby's body and creations. There was little room to sit or walk. During this time, Kyle conducted many interviews on the current state of Gabby and the benefits and deficits of her reign. But through this new, exciting, distinctive time in his life, Kyle felt a bit empty. He did not manage to sell a single hot dog.
Gabby protected is this? Okay. Okay. Alright. What if I get Gabby, do the marketing, get the hot dogs in the cart? Let's do that.
Kyle laid in bed for... Kyle had been...
Alright. Checking the drawer. Getting the small key.
Kyle grabbed...
Checking the drawer. We're grabbing the sword of change. We're going back to the room. Alright, the hallway. Kitchen. Check the pantry.
Kyle wanted to access the pantry, but found the pantry door lock creaked as if... Instead of
Let's grab some hot dogs.
Kyle searched after a...
Alright, we've got some hot dogs. Alright. We've got hot dogs. So I'm going to go back to the bedroom. Alright, now let's get that soup.
Kyle put up...
Chew on the soup because we need more time.
It wasn't enough. Soon, Kyle had eaten most of the soup. Kyle felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
Alright. Hallway. Lock
Kyle
door.
walked
Use the
with a
magic.
hum and Kyle sucked the.
Into the room. Hot dog stand.
Kyle.
I don't know if we've got enough time now to do both. Alright. Leave the apartment.
Kyle
There's
approached
Gabby.
a middle-aged.
Consume Gabby.
Kyle.
Alright.
Job done.
Back to the street. Marketing agency. Approach
Kyle
attendant.
walked over to the attendant.
Purchase marketing.
Kyle walked
Come
to
on.
the desk and
Please,
placed
please,
his pocket
please,
change on the
please. Let me
table.
get the.
How much marketing can I get for this?
Okay.
Asked Kyle. Maybe like a piece of paper on the message board outside, said the attendant. Kyle wordlessly purchased the flyer and walked out the door.
Okay, we got Gabby and the flyer. Alright, let's see what
Kyle
happens.
made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman.
Okay.
Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. Kyle took out his cart pieces and began to assemble them. With a little trouble, Kyle was able to finish constructing a serviceable hot dog stand. Kyle then started to place the hot dogs he had brought into the cart. They were cold, but Kyle had never cooked his hot dogs as a child and didn't want to start now. His prep finished, Kyle looked around and smiled, waiting for his first customer. After a few minutes of waiting, one customer came to Kyle's stand.
Come on.
After a brief
What do
exchange
you
of
use,
pleasantries,
Gabby?
the customer bought 2 hot
It's got a
dogs and
check on
left.
it, so it counts, right?
About 30 minutes later, 2 girls came over to the stand. Over the next few hours,
So you don't get
Kyle received a healthy handful of customers. As evening fell, Kyle found himself to be just about sold out of hot dogs. Tired but pleased, Kyle closed his stand for the day and wheeled it home. Kyle had made a modest but livable amount of money at
So you don't get.
millions of fans. They knew that
So you don't use Gabby if you get. Okay. Alright. Alright, this time I'm not going to go to the marketing agency. Okay? Okay, I get it. Alright. We're not going to go to the marketing agency this time, people. This time we're just going to get Gabby.
Kyle thought very... Kyle laid in bed for...
Skip it.
Kyle.
Alright, start this day. Alright. To the desk. Check the drawer. We just need the key.
Kyle grabbed.
So we're skipping the marketing agency. Back to the room. Hallway. Kitchen. Check the pantry.
Kyle walked...
Key.
The pantry...
Look at the pantry.
Instead of it-
Grab them hot
Kyle
dogs.
After
Alright.
he got...
Turn to the hallway. Leave the apartment. Ask for
Kyle
neighbors.
approached
More.
a middle-aged...
Some Gabby.
Job done.
Alright. Turn the apartment. Bedroom. Open the closet. Choose the
Kyle
outfit.
decided...
Hot
Kyle put on
dog.
his hot... Feeling... It wasn't enough. Soon, Kyle felt satisfied. The hot dogs had nourished him greatly, functionally giving him more time in his day.
Boom. Alright. Lock door.
Kyle walked over
Hot dog
with a
magic.
hum and... Kyle sucked.
Hot dog
Kyle
stand.
started... Kyle...
Alright, so we're going to have Gabby
Soon, he had enough loose items to be...
and the hot dog stand. And hot dogs. Alright. What happens if I do
Excited by his
this?
new job as a hot dog salesman, As Kyle opened his mouth to speak, his stomach contracted violently. Kyle started spewing out undigested chunks of hot dog and stomach lining. The hot dog Kyle had eaten earlier had multiplied in his stomach, causing a massive amount of hot dog pieces to grow inside of him.
What I don't get is why isn't this an avenue for getting hot dogs as well?
After a couple minutes of spewing, Kyle stopped. He looked at the attendant. "Oh, you know," said Kyle, rolling his eyes and smiling. The attendant did not seem to want to respond, so Kyle decided to leave the tech store.
Alright, now let's see if we can use Gabby and the hot dog stand and the hot dogs to have Gabby become a salesperson.
Kyle made his way to the street corner. After a long day of preparation, Kyle felt very ready for his first outing as a hot dog salesman. Kyle started to unpack his things onto the corner of the street. Kyle took out his cart pieces and began to assemble them. With a little trouble, Kyle was able to finish constructing a serviceable hot dog stand. Kyle then started to place the hot dogs he had brought into the cart. They were cold, but Kyle had never cooked his hot dogs as a child and didn't want to start now.
Cold
His
hot
prep
dogs.
finished, Kyle looked around and smiled, waiting for his first customer. It was then that Kyle realized he had not bothered to acquire any advertisement for his cart. If the hot dog stand would be a success, Kyle realized he would need to advertise all on his own. Kyle thought about his advertising options.
Wait, you can't use... So, Gabby's only useful for one ending? Okay. Screaming.
Without hesitation, Kyle craned his neck towards the sky and let loose a blood-curdling scream like none other. Everyone around Kyle stopped to look at him, unhappy with the noise. Kyle's scream continued and became more and more distasteful. Soon, there was not a person in his city that was not unhappy with Kyle's screaming. Kyle continued to scream throughout the night and into the next day. People began to stop next to Kyle, foregoing work to stand and frown. The reach of his scream began to spread, reaching nearby cities, then states, then countries. The world grew a distaste for Kyle's screaming. Families spent their evenings frowning. Nobody was terribly happy. A petition to move humanity away from Kyle's screaming was created. Everyone signed it.
Okay.
All of the nations of the world put their minds together and created a shuttle for humanity to leave Earth.
Well, this is getting out of hand.
Within a day, the human race had left on a trip to a new planet, away from the sound of Kyle's screams. Kyle continued to scream for many years, hoping someone would buy a hot dog so he could stop. But there was nobody left to buy any hot dogs. Kyle was all alone.
Dang. Okay. So Gabby's apparently only useful for one ending. Alright.
Kyle thought very carefully about the first move of his day.
We'll have Kyle embrace the Christmas spirit.
As Kyle started to leave his bed, something stopped him. Maybe it was a smell in the air. Maybe it was the chill from outside, or maybe it was just pure luck. Kyle had been imbued with the spirit of Christmas. In an instant, Kyle began to hear the dreams and wishes of every child in the world all at once.
Huh. Okay.
Kyle's newfound abilities were quite overwhelming. He clutched his head and screamed loudly. The voices did not stop. Kyle curled into a small ball and rocked back and forth. Not to be left alone, Kyle was gifted with a Christmas miracle. Small bumps began forming under his skin, pushing outwards. Kyle's skin began to stretch and tear, letting loose a small army of elves that had been growing in his stomach. The elves scattered around Kyle's apartment, foraging for anything remotely nutritious to feed on. Kyle burst an elf army. He had been chosen to become Santa Claus.
Kyle is Santa Claus now.
Kyle decided that the best course of action was to fulfill his duties as Santa Claus. Kyle stepped out of bed, stray elves falling from various holes in his skin. Kyle must now continue his day as Santa Claus. Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is. Kyle appropriately chose to dress as Santa, who he was. Kyle knew he must construct his naughty and nice list. He began to think of all of the people in his life. Kyle thought of Gabby. Kyle thought of Rachel.
Gotta do it, naughty. Just see what happens.
Kyle thought of Techno Jim.
Techno Jim, he's a standee. See, that would be nice.
Kyle thought of Kyle.
I don't even know how to react to this one. Okay. I just gotta do it. What if Kyle's naughty?
Kyle ripped his list out of his notebook.
Wait, he gets to write notes for an interview? But Kyle's Santa. What's in the drawer? So wait a minute. He's still going to do the interview?
Kyle scooped up the change scattered around the desk drawer. Kyle grabbed...
This is getting weird. What if he scavenges?
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor,
Elves.
realizing his immediate need for... Kyle winced as he realized he would probably need to bring some elves along. Kyle grabbed a nearby bag. He started to crawl around, snatching up elves left and right and chucking them inside. Soon, Kyle's bag was mostly full of elves.
That's enough elves.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Oh, let's use some Christmas magic.
Kyle stretched out his hand, twisting it in its socket around and around. He sang a Christmas tune under his breath. The door swung open, letting Kyle through.
I gotta grab the laser.
Expecting a battle, Kyle grabbed the laser claymore.
Alright, makes no sense. He's got a flashlight but no batteries. He's got change. He's got a naughty nice list. He's got a Santa. He's got it on Santa suit, elf bag, and a laser. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen.
Kyle hurried to the set.
So he is going to still do the interview, even though he's Santa. Okay.
Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. "Good evening, Kyle," she said, looking him in the eyes. "I've been looking forward to being here."
Dump elves on Rachel. I'm doing it.
Before Rachel had completely finished her sentence, Kyle took his bag of elves and dumped them on her. The elves grabbed onto Rachel with a deathly, unshakable grip. "Kyle, what on earth?" cried Rachel. She leapt up from her chair and tried to bat the elves off of her. "These, Rachel," said Kyle, "are your newest and bestest friends. You must take good care of them." The elves looked Rachel in the eyes and smiled endearingly. Unknown to anyone previously, Rachel had terrible allergic reactions to elf dander.
Elf dander.
Within moments, Rachel's whole body turned bright red and began to puff. This reaction was not like a normal reaction. The very foundational composition of Rachel's person began to change. Rachel started to sprout limbs from her legs and forehead. Her fingers grew extra eyes.
Huh?
As Rachel continued to mutate, it became obvious to the onlookers what was happening. Rachel was transforming into the pure embodiment of Christmas.
Okay.
Kyle realized that if he was going to keep his job as Santa, this would have to be nipped in the bud. Kyle started to pull elves off of the growing Rachel. Instead of slowing the growing process, this seemed to give Rachel's body more space to develop new limbs and ears.
Okay, this is weird.
After pulling off a few more elves, Kyle threw up his hands in frustration and gave up. He walked out of the building. Rachel continued to grow, becoming a shapeless mass of teeth, shoulders, and fat. The elves were slowly enveloped. After the initial shock wore off, the surrounding community began to appreciate Rachel's new form. Over the years, she became an icon of local Christmas tradition, acting as a centerpiece for decoration and celebrations. Rachel truly became the embodiment of Christmas. Kyle, still Santa, remained very jealous.
Okay. Kyle started a tradition. Alright. Okay, so that's 24 out of 117 endings. There's a... Yeah, that's a lot of endings. Alright. So, thank you for watching, everybody. Peace out.